You are listening to, or you're part of Go Wellness webinars, and we are excited to have you uh, on today. So today we are going to be learning some additional stuff on the model of health. We went over this at the seminar a little bit this last weekend, but we're going to dive into that and learn some good stuff. So looks like we got a good group on today. So just to recap to those of you that weren't able to attend this last weekend event, we were in LA doing our healthcare entrepreneur and functional medicine event over the weekend, and it was another awesome event. And our next event, make sure you get registered for it if you're not already. We have October 13th is our next live stem cell Revolution implementation event, and that's got us level 2 certification for stem cell therapy as well. And then we have the following days, so the 14th and 15th of October, that'll be the healthcare entrepreneur and functional medicine training. So we got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend coming up that middle week of October. So it's going to be an amazing weekend. So make sure you have that on your calendars and you're ready to rock that. So we're going to jump in. You guys should be able to see my screen here. You can see the model of health. And we handed this out at the event just to make sure. I'm going to actually upload this so you guys can grab it too for those of you that are on this webinar. And we're going to dive into this and show you how you can have a good dialogue, how you can communicate better with patients about acupuncture and overall just the model of health and how our body breaks down and how we can restore function. And so this is going to be a really insightful webinar. So you guys are in for a treat. So Regan, I got Regan here on the line as well.
Hey guys.
And let's see. Hey Regan, do you know if we have a Word document on the model of health? I think we had it designed by an actual designer, so we don't have a Word document on it, do we?
No, I don't. We don't have a Word document, but
So
can you
what?
not upload a PDF?
Oh no, this is someone was asking that.
Oh, okay.
No, one of the participants asked if we had a Word document. We don't, but Deborah, a really easy way to do it. If you click on this, you can actually white that out and then do whatever you want with it. So
Yes.
you can make it nice and easy. All right, so Regan, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Do you want to use my screen, or do you want me to pass the baton over to you?
No, go ahead. Keep your screen up there. I mean, yours, you have the form with all the words in it, so it's nice because you provided the cheat sheet. Um, and I will, and then it keeps me on track because I'll just make it totally different. So this is good. It'll keep me
Yes.
on task. So let's dive in here. First of all, how many of you are recommending a plan of care for your patients? Just I'm sure everyone on the webinar is already putting together packages and programs. And I think one of the hardest things for acupuncturists specifically, some of you chiros, you've got a little more of that training than we get as acupuncturists, but the hardest thing to put together is a treatment plan. And if you sell like 10 treatments in a package, you're stoked, right? Is this you? I got a couple of we've got Nicole with us and Aaron. So we're gonna do we'll do a little role play today as well. Do you guys want to sit right here? And so you guys are gonna get some live training from people who've never seen this in their entire life, or have you seen it with some of my notes that I sent?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So so we'll do some live training for everybody. But you know, first thing, when your patients come in, a lot of people think that as long as they don't have symptoms that they're what? Healthy, right? No symptoms, that means I'm totally healthy. Well, one of the things you want to look at is, when do symptoms really show up? Because a lot of times symptoms are the very last thing to show up. If you look at research, our bodies are incredibly adaptive, and our bodies want to mask symptoms as long as it takes. So the model of health shows us how the body starts to lose function and when symptoms show up. But what I'll do is show you a very simple way that the body actually loses function, how to establish where a person's at, where symptoms actually show up, and then what it takes to put a treatment plan together that makes sense for somebody. Because, you know, Nicole, if you told me, you said, hey, Reagan, I need to see you 40 times, so I want you to come twice a week for the next 20 weeks, and we had no dialogue, you just said that's all it's going to take to treat you. I'm like, I've got back pain and it's going to take 40 visits, and so I would need an explanation before you gave me that treatment plan, right? And you'd need the same from me, or you would need that from me, right, Aaron? You'd say, yeah, this guy's batshit crazy. What? He just wants my money, right? And so biggest thing you want to look at is, okay, how can we connect in layman's terms? We get it as clinicians. It's really easy for us to say, man, this issue's been going on for 3 years and it's not going to go away on its own. And so, you know, it's going to take some work to uncover it all. So this is what the model of health is. Dr. Singer, he was one of my trainers on this. I've taken it, modified it, tried to make it a little more applicable. As many of you know, I'm a solid quick start, and so I really like to get things and innovate them. So this is my innovation, and I've used this tool for about 6 or 7 years. And when I first started using it, I went from a practice that was seeing about I was seeing about 100 to 120 patient visits per week, and in the course of 3 months, just using this one tool, I went to 250 visits a week, all by myself. So I was running ragged. For you chiropractors, that's like adjusting 600 people in a week. But we had systems down. I mean, everything was laid out. But the very first visit, I would sit down and I would say, okay, well, you know, I've reviewed your paperwork. You get to the emotional aspect, and you really dive into, you know, their goals, their purpose. And then once you see that there is a commitment on the patient side, this is when you stop and you say, okay, well, do you mind if I just show you a little bit of the way your body breaks down and function and why I think some of these symptoms are here, and then I can give you an overall treatment plan that will aim at correcting the cause. Is that okay with you? So you get the agreement from the person, and then I'll sit down with them and I'll have this form. And if you don't mind, I'll use, I can use this. So hopefully everybody, you printed this up. So very first thing, if you look at any medicine, you know, historically, you look at Hippocrates, you look at some of his medical terminology, some of his ideals. You look at Ayurvedic medicine, you look at Chinese medicine. A lot of these medicines are based around very interesting concepts of helping the body heal naturally, right? And in Western medicine, we've diverted from that path, and what we try to do is the body and manipulate it with chemicals. And so one of the reasons that you two came here together is because you don't want a pharmaceutical drug to basically take over your life. You're actually looking for solutions that are non-surgical and non-pharmaceutical. Am I right in that? So these guys are patients, by the way. They're not patients, but they're our new rock stars here at East West. So in Chinese medicine, which is, you know, one of my specialties, if you look at what the emperor, so a lot of the Chinese medical texts and a lot of traditions was passed down from, you know, tribes, essentially, you know, barefoot doctors, and then pretty soon as those tribes grew into more warlords that were governing certain regions, and then emperors came to be, Chinese medicine today is practiced more, you know, it's a lot more standardized than it was. So I don't practice more of a standardized medicine. I use more Western science with Chinese medicine, but I still keep the same philosophies that the emperor had. So you'll see at the top where it's got emperor's medicine. And so I look at you two as empresses. So you guys are queens of your own universe, right?
Of course.
So I think, what type of healthcare does a queen need? What would be
the best?
The best, right? And what would that look like?
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive. We don't miss anything. Oh, your neck is
Tailored.
sore. We're gonna rub your neck. Oh, you want your feet to be healthier. You want your brain, like, it's tailored, right? So everything's customized. And if you look at the emperor's medicine, you know, the overall vision, does a queen ever want to die?
No.
No. So
We want to look young.
you want to look young, right? So longevity would be the first thing. So if you look at the emperor's medicine, the very first thing that it's based on is these principles of longevity. Second thing that we look at, do you want to be strong as the queen? You want to be vital. You want to be able to roam your kingdom and manage things and go explore. So the next one is vitality. And so what would you say vitality means?
Energy.
Being healthy, having a lot of energy.
Pain-free.
Pain-free, yep. So yeah,
Great
that's
emotion.
vitality. What was that?
Great emotion.
Great emotions.
Stable emotions.
Stable.
Yes.
Happy.
Man, the people in your kingdom will appreciate stable emotions. Otherwise, people are getting their heads chopped off. It's like on the 5th of every month, everyone's dying. I don't get it. The queen gets pissed, and oh, menstrual. Try who, right? All right, and then the final one is, do you want people to share your kingdom? Do you want it to expand and grow? So how does it expand and grow?
By everyone else being healthy.
Everyone else being healthy, and then what do they have to have? Babies.
Yes.
So fertility. So you two, we're going to make sure you have lots of babies, all right? So, I know that's why you guys are like, wait a second. This is the queen. This was the whole purpose of the emperor. You know, they wanted to really expand the kingdom. And we're in Utah, so a lot of Mormons, and Mormons have lots of kids because it's the same concept. Let's share this beautiful planet Earth with the kids who can bring in more of this philosophy. Does that make sense? So longevity and vitality and fertility. So, you know, and if you look at the emperor, you know, he would have up to 300 concubines. So he needed a lot of virility, actually. So that's a lot to handle. So first thing, if you're looking to accomplish this, and some of your main goals, I mean, what's the condition? So maybe headaches,
Neck pain,
Hip
hip pain,
headaches,
shoulder
neck pain,
all
hip
the
pain.
above.
Hormonal issues.
Yeah, so hormonal issues. So even though, you know, having babies is not why you're here, you me how to live to be 120, but that's my purpose, because if we're going to handle your headaches, your neck pain, your knee pain, the hormones, then all those things, the longevity and vitality and even fertility, is going to be a byproduct. Does that make sense? So then we have to ask ourselves, well, what happens to the body to allow the body to start breaking down and function? Now, if you look at your body overall, you've got blood vessels that if you connected them together, these blood vessels you could wrap around the earth twice. So miles and miles of blood vessels. You know, you put on 1 pound of fat and you have another mile of blood vessel to surround that fat. So it's like our bodies need massive quantities of blood vessels. Even if you look at stem cell therapy, the body has stem cells that mobilize themselves right around the epithelial cells on your blood vessels. So really interesting, that's how our bodies heal. But the very first thing that happens when we're born, is we have trauma. So you go through the birth canal and you start life out with a little trauma there, or a lot, depending on how your birth was. You guys remember yours?
Oh, of course.
Oh, good, me too. We have drugs for that help you remember. But yeah, I mean, we don't remember our birth, but if you look at it, you know, when my babies came out, I mean, they kind of looked like aliens. Their head were all misshapen, and they looked rough. But you know, birth is where we have our first trauma, and if we're not born vaginally, what's the trauma from having a C-section birth?
Lower bacterial. Good
Yeah.
bacteria.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have the good flora that's built up because, when we're born, we need to enter through the birth canal because that's where we get inoculated with good bacteria. And then if we're not breastfed, that's another trauma. So what happens is ideal health is when we have 100% circulation in all those blood vessels. It's traumas that cause a breakdown in that circulatory process. So if you think about it, things that could cause circulation issues are traumas. So what types of traumas? I mean, we talked about physical traumas.
Emotional traumas.
You can have emotional. So yeah, you can have physical trauma, and that's going to bring you down.
Stress.
Yeah, stress, emotional trauma. Where else do you get traumas from? Think about what's outside.
Oh, the air.
The environment, yes. And so then there's one other area that a lot of people overlook when it comes to trauma, and it's from nutrition is not necessarily, it's kind of our lifestyle that imposes it, so we could put that on there, but
Chemicals.
well, that's part of what we just talked about with the environment, but the other one is infections. So a lot of us are carrying around a lot of bacterial infections, yeast infections. We have these interesting viruses, these mycoplasma that are tiny, tiny. So these are the traumas that build up in our body. So if you think about all your entire life, Nicole, what are some of the biggest traumas you've had, like physically from, since birth? Snowboarding. So you've wrecked.
Knock on wood, I've been really lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some snowboarding accidents.
Snowboarding.
Did you fall down the stairs as a kid?
No, I fell and hit my chin on a table and I fell stitches.
Me too.
Oh wow. Okay.
Sprained
Maybe
ankle.
sprained ankle. Okay. So there's some traumas there. Chemical exposures. Any massive chemical exposures that you're aware of?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
But I lived in Bali and China.
Okay.
So I'm sure there were a lot of chemicals in the air.
Just a few chemicals in Bali and
you can
China.
see it.
You can
And smell
taste
and
it.
feel it.
Yeah.
Same as Utah.
Same as Utah. You can taste it sometimes with our inversions. It's rough. And then if you think about like some of the emotional traumas that have happened throughout your life, have you had any? Or I mean, I haven't had any.
Boyfriend.
Yeah, breakups, mothers,
Bosses.
Friends.
yes,
The list goes on.
new one. Yeah, friends. I mean, it goes on and on. And so, if you look at those traumas, what happens here is optimal health is when our body has 100% circulation. So, Erin brought up some of her, or Nicole brought up some of her traumas. So, Nicole, you've had physical traumas. What's been some of the worst physical traumas you've had in your life?
I was attacked by a dog.
What kind of dog?
I don't remember. I was about 2 or 3 years old, but
Oh, wow.
I think it was a German Shepherd.
Okay.
Who was staying at my house, and I had to have plastic surgery on my face
Whoa.
as a baby. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a big trauma.
Mhm.
And then in your teenage years, or
Nothing really
adolescence?
physically.
Nothing too serious.
Just some injuries that I thought were from working out, but caused by other things going on in my body.
Okay, sure.
So
Maybe some workout traumas, no car accidents, nothing significant there.
really just a lot of emotional traumas.
But okay, so the emotional traumas, some of the big ones, getting attacked by a dog, physically that's traumatizing, emotionally it's traumatizing. And then adolescence, anything growing up in the house, stress with the parents, I mean, that can be some of the traumas. Divorce, yeah, I mean, and then, lately, so then you'd want to get some real present tense. I'm not going to put these two on the spot because it's like their first day of work, so you're going to be like, damn, this guy's getting personal in this huge webinar that's recorded forever. So, but you guys get the mode, right? So then this is where a patient will start crying because they're going to bring up their past that no one's actually acknowledged. And so it's actually really cathartic because then you start thinking, my body's been through so much throughout my entire life. And until somebody actually has some compassion for themselves, they're not going to really take healing seriously. So So what happens with all those traumas, everything you talked about, Aaron, everything you talked about, Nicole, is all those traumas lower the circulation in our body. And so what happens is when the circulation gets lower, I mean, what will happen if you have poor circulation in your muscles?
You get stiff.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get stiff, right? They're going to get stiff, sore.
Cold.
Cold.
What do you mean cold?
Like your.
The circulation's
Yeah.
not
Oh, you get cold. So if you
Yeah.
have, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. And then, you know, the other thing is if you have trauma in your muscles, what's deeper than the muscles that we can have trauma with? Maybe it causes numbness or, you know, shooting pain nerves, right? So if you look at, you know, your spine, for example, there's nerves along your spine that connect to your body. And if those nerves aren't functioning properly, then you're going to have a breakdown in the internal organs. So a lot of our patients have come in for thyroid issues, you know, and that's one of the primary things I've treated over the last decade. And one of the questions that no endocrinologist asks them is, have you had any whiplashes? Because when you have whiplash, what part of your body gets injured? Yeah, it's your neck, right? Your head's going back, it gets pushed forward, then when it goes back, it all rips. And it's ripping right by your thyroid. And so all that inflammation cuts off the nerve supply. So a lot of people who have thyroid issues, you know, the physical trauma is never addressed. The chemical trauma doesn't get addressed because most endocrinologists don't say, well, do you consume, is there any chlorine around you that could be blocking the thyroid production? Is there any bromine? Do you eat anything that's preserved, any breads, biscuits, crackers? I know you two don't eat any of that stuff, but a lot of people do have. Is there fluoride? You know, are you brushing your teeth with fluoride? Are you drinking water with fluoride? All those things, you know, don't get addressed. And then birth control. You know, if someone's taking birth control, the estrogens really start blocking it, or eating too much soy. But these are things that don't get addressed. All these traumas, and then the thyroid. So not only are their nerves affected, but then you'll start having poor circulation in your thyroid if you have that type of chemical trauma. So does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The other thing we see is if you have too much inflammation in your body, that impedes the circulation in your liver, or if you're, you know, too much toxicity. And then, you know, these things, you know, they're called organs and glands. So can you give me an example of what an organ is?
Liver,
gallbladder,
liver, gallbladder, lungs, heart, pericardium, kidneys.
Western or Eastern?
Well, Western. So, yeah,
yes,
pericardium, Eastern. But yeah, skin is your largest organ. And then what are some examples of glands? So glands are things that secrete hormones. Pituitary, hypothalamus, pancreas, adrenals, ovaries, testes. So those are glands. And so ideally, if you have 100% circulation in all of those muscles, nerves, organs, and glands, would you say that you've got 100% health? If you have 100% circulation in those things, in all your nerves, muscles, organs, glands, would you be 100% healthy?
Physically. Yes.
Okay. Well, even emotionally, because emotions have, they block circulation, right? Or they open up circulation. Think about how you feel when you are just like so grateful. You know, you look out your window, you go for a walk in the morning, you breathe in the air, and you're just like, I'm so glad to be alive. What do you feel like? Heavy or light?
Light.
Very light. So yes. So even if you know, if you have heavy emotions, then you're blocking circulation somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we look at function as the ability to perform an action. So if you could perform all the actions that you needed to in your body, physically, emotionally, spiritually, that's 100% health. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Most people have been taught, and I was taught this too, that you're healthy if you have an absence of symptoms. If there's no symptoms, you're fine. And I would have to say there's nothing farther from the truth.
Of course, until you find the cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because the next thing that happens is when the circulation patterns break down from all these, then we start to receive what are called malfunctions. So optimal function is when all those things are happy and you're on cloud nine. malfunctions start to build up and they're imperceivable. So we don't even realize those malfunctions are going on. That's where they say, you know, like I went to a school that was founded by a guy named Earl Bach, and he's the inventor of the pacemaker. And Earl Bach would always say the best time to prevent disease is 20 to 30 years before it ever shows up. So, because malfunctions go on, and if we don't correct those malfunctions, then what happens to the circulation is it gets too impeded. So then you start to build up disease processes. And so disease is that next stage. And so what are some diseases? I mean, you mentioned cancer, but what are some other diseases that you could have right now and not know about it?
You mean heart disease?
Heart disease is a big one.
Diabetes.
You could be diabetic and not even know.
Yeah. Autoimmune disease.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have antibodies destroying your thyroid right now and have no clue. And so finally with diseases, you can even run blood tests, and this is where our blood chemistry panels are way too vague and way too broad in our country because they don't pick up on malfunctions. It is very hard for them to pick up on diseases at all until symptoms show up. So symptoms are the very last thing to show up down here. And so if you think about it, you know, a definition of symptoms, this is a dictionary definition. It's a departure from normal function and a manifestation of an underlying disease process. So some of the symptoms that both of you came in here for, I mean, hormones, headaches, knee pain, there's a bunch of others, and they're written down here that you would be telling your patients. Oh, nice, Cade, you're getting some, looks like you're an artist.
It's beautiful, I know. Everybody's applauding me right now.
I can hear them loud and clear. So symptoms. So then you'd be writing down what some of their symptoms are. So, you know, these are your symptoms, and then you give them a time frame. So Nicole, how long have you had these headaches and these hormonal imbalances?
10 years.
So you've had these symptoms, and I'm showing her this sheet. You've had these symptoms for 10 years. And have they gotten worse over the last 10 years or better?
Worse.
They've gotten worse. So, and what would you say, I mean, just looking at this chart, how long do you think it would take us to restore enough function in your body, not only to get rid of symptoms, but to take care of the disease and malfunction? I mean, how many years do you think it would take us to actually do that?
At least one.
At least a year, right? Yeah, it's going to take some time.
If I listened to everything you said and did everything.
Right, and you have to because we put a shock collar on you and a camera, and so I force you to be compliant. So don't worry, we'll take care of you. And then Erin, how long have you had your symptoms? I mean, the knee pain, the neck pain?
A few years.
A few years.
Like 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so 4 years, 3 years, maybe 3.5.
Yeah, let's say 3.5.
Okay, 3.5 years. And so how long do you think it would take us to get rid of your knee and neck pain for good, not just getting rid of the symptom, but actually getting rid of the disease and the malfunctions?
Definitely at least a few months, hopefully.
A few months, hopefully, yeah. Yeah, it's going to take some time, but you know, hopefully in a few months we'd be able to do that. Because if symptoms show up when our bodies have a 70% loss of function. So you see this line right here. If you look at some of the research that the Armstrong, you guys know Lance Armstrong, he's got a research institution. Yes. Have you met him?
No, I think I've seen him ride by.
Oh, cool.
My ex almost got run over by him. He almost ran him over, like on his bike.
Oh, really? That'd be cool. Hey, I almost killed Lance Armstrong because I ran into him.
Armstrong almost killed him.
Oh, he was just like going.
Yeah, he was walking.
Jeez.
But
if yeah, sorry Lance if you're on this, we love you, but anyway, the research that they've done is they found, you know, specifically looking at the liver has to have about 80% scarring before symptoms ever show up or before a blood test will trip. So you can have like really good bilirubin, your ALT, AST looks good, all your enzymes look good, but that doesn't mean anything because our bodies, once again, they're trying to mask any symptom they can. And our blood is where our bodies try to protect it. So we don't want any tiny abnormalities in the blood is a big deal for the body. So even the blood is hard to detect these things. So what happens at that, once we lose 70% function, that's when you have symptoms that don't go away on their own. I mean, this is not where you twist your ankle and it heals in 3 months, right? You can feel it healing every day. That's different. Symptoms that become chronic are symptoms that have been around for about 3 months and they're not going away on their own. Both of you came in with these types of symptoms. So, first stage is, we start doing treatments, and, there's going to be 2 phases. So first phase is where we're going to do stem cell treatments on your knee, on your neck. We also want to do stem cell treatments for Unicol intravenously, and that will help the headaches and the hormones. It will get rid of a lot of the inflammation in the body. So initially what we're doing is we're infusing massive amounts of new circulation infused into your body. Not only do these stem cells help repopulate areas that have been damaged, they can grow new tissue structures, but the other thing that comes with the stem cells are natural growth factors, which get rid of inflammation, get rid of scar tissue, and then they also have their own proteins that promote vascular genesis. So do you have any idea what vascular genesis is? It sounds really nerdy and smart, right? Growing your vasculature. There you go. There you go. Yep. So it helps you improve circulation, and there's been study after study showing that stem cell therapy, specifically umbilical cord stem cells, can regrow new vascular structures. So if we want your knee to be permanent, you're going to need some good blood supply to that cartilage. And usually that's what gets lost, and then the friction over time starts to wear out the cartilage. The other part of your treatment is going to be acupuncture. So stem cells will help get a lot of these symptoms gone much quicker, about in half the time. Part of what the acupuncture is doing is every time we put a needle in your body, we stimulate different systems, different points that relate to the organs and glands in your body. So I can do a point right here, right here, and that affects your stomach, for example. Or I can do a point right here on Unicol, and that will impact your hormones. So part of what we'll be doing with acupuncture initially is we'll want you coming in 2 times a week for the first 8 weeks. So it's going to take us about 2 months to get you to the point where symptoms are gone. And then once the symptoms are gone, does that mean that you're healthy?
No.
What else is missing? What do we got to get rid of now? Now the symptoms are gone, what do we start attacking?
Malfunction?
Yeah, the malfunction and disease patterns. So then we want to see you 2 times a week for another 8 weeks. And so ideally what that's going to do is, the first stage of care is what we call relief care. This is when once you hit relief care is when you've had about 2 to 3 weeks with no symptoms. Corrective care is when we've got your body functioning as optimally as we possibly can. And for both of you, this process is going to take a total of 6 months. So once we finish that second twice a week cycle, that's when we pull back a little bit and we start treating you weekly. So there's essentially, then we go once a week for 8 weeks. So essentially about 24 weeks is what we're looking at to really obtain corrective care. Now, just because we've obtained corrective care, what do you think would happen if you just went right back to your old ways, old patterns?
Mm-hmm.
Symptoms come back. So my goal, you two are both amazing people, but my goal is for you not to come back with symptoms. I'd much prefer to treat things before your body loses all that function. So that's when we go on maintenance. In a case with hormones or autoimmunity, some of the conditions you've had, this is something that we want to keep your health. Just the momentum is the most important thing. Otherwise, these symptoms can come back. I've had autoimmune diseases myself, and I know exactly how I can exacerbate those conditions. I can pull them up almost any time if I want to go drink a bunch of beer and eat a bunch of greasy, gluten-laden food and then finish it off with a bunch of dairy. then I can induce some hypothyroid condition pretty fast. So so one of the things we do in training you is, we use specific tests that actually dig in and get to the underlying cause. So part of us understanding where the diseases are, and part of how we choose the acupuncture points, is we're going to run a few labs. So you both came in with your blood chemistry, which is important. That shows us, what's going on with your liver and a basic outline of, where your body is functioning. But just like you said, my doctor didn't find anything with this test. We're seeing that there are some patterns, but a couple other things that we want to do is we want to do a test for your brain health. So it's a neurotransmitter test. It's very easy. It's just done through urine. So we want to look at brain function. Second test we want to look at is we want to look at genetics. Have either of you tested your genetics?
No.
Okay, so main thing with genetics is we want to see that how does your body actually detox. So we want to look at a gene called your MTHFR. And it's a mouthful, but you guys need to learn how to say it, but it's methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. So say that 3 times, please. No, I'm joking, but it's so the MTHFR will help us understand how well your body takes up folate. The MTR will show us how well your body uses B12. And then there's another gene called your COMT, your catecholaminomethyltransferase, and that shows us how well your body metabolizes estrogen. So if we're going to balance your hormones, Nicole, we absolutely need to see genetically how does your body actually process them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then it also shows us how well you process dopamine, so it will feed into your brain health. The third test, which is probably the most important, is going to be your stool test. And so this is our glamour test, because you do get to send poop in a box to a lab, and we analyze it. Well, we don't analyze it, but the lab analyzes it. And they'll let us know if you've got leaky gut, if there's bacterial infections. We can also see markers for candida overgrowth. So that the stool test is going to be a critical one for you. And then finally, we want to look at all the hormones A to Z. And then further on in your program, once we get some of the other things cleaned up, that's where we may also do a food intolerance test. But for now, we're gonna stick with these 4 tests. So part of the hormones that we're going to look at is going to be through saliva. So we're actually going to look, because you had trauma since you were 2. So what will happen, and a lot of people don't ever pick up on this, is your body's always in this hypervigilant mode. So your immune system just doesn't quite let you relax. And one of the most liberating things in life is when you actually feel fully relaxed. And so looking at the adrenals will help us know what your body's doing and how your stress hormones are behaving. And then that will link into relaxing your nervous system. That'll help balance your hormones too. So part of how we'll get overall health, phase 1, we'll get the stem cell infusions. We're going to get some labs ran. We're also going to do some acupuncture. Phase 2 is where we actually analyze the labs and we start training you on all the lifestyle modifications that need to take place. It's also where we look at the stem cells that have been infused and we say, how can we help these stem cells so they have the best lifespan possible? And then we'll show you the right foods to eat, just so you can help those. And then phase 3 is where we actually, we give you a meal plan, we help coach you. There's education, there's classes that you'll attend so that you're not dependent on us for your health. And so once we get you through that phase 3, that's when we kind of take the training wheels off the bike and you start riding it on your own. As fast as Lance Armstrong, we guarantee that. No, we don't. But, okay, so any questions on that? All right, so that is the model of health. So what I'm going to do for you now is I'll get your treatment plans written up, and then we'll get you scheduled for your treatments. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, can't wait. All right, guys, so that is the model of health. Cade, do we have questions that are coming through?
No, I think you explained it beautifully. I don't have any questions. There was a couple. Okay, we got one now. All right, what if we can't do stem cells yet? So
What,
that was
what,
just an example of what you could how you could explain the treatments.
yeah,
What
you
were you
could,
gonna say, Reagan?
whatever treatments you want to add in there or take away, go for it. I mean, I didn't do anything for you chiros, so you're going to want to do chiropractic. With Miller Time from Brooklyn, what you're going to do as a nutritionist is you're going to emphasize, nutritional programs and the labs. For people who aren't doing stem cells, I put that in there because this is a model that you can throw any treatment in. Cade, what did you think about weaving it together? And I'll get some feedback from our patients too, but did you feel like it was like cumbersome at all or too much?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So, and we're getting some questions on, is this what you do in the ROF? So this is what we kind of have enhanced the ROF process just to provide more education in the front end so that people can have a better understanding of what their plan's going to look like long-term wise.
Yeah. How did you ladies feel?
Good. I thought it was great information that, I learned a lot about, what might be affecting my body that I wasn't even aware of before this.
Did it give you guys like a little light went off, like,
Makes me want to get tested for everything and start my treatment plan as soon as possible.
Like not like, oh,
yeah,
like a fear attack, but more like, oh, yeah, I need to start paying attention to this and taking responsibility for it.
cool. It's a more motivating, I think,
Yeah, and
because
it's more motivating than like a fear tactic.
yeah, instead of like, look, you could have diabetes, and it's like, yeah, that's a reality because it is, but it's like,
and optimistic because you have a solution.
yeah, there's a
I'll be honest,
solution.
there's a little bit of fear, like
Good.
not knowing what's going on in my body.
Yeah, don't you want to know? Okay, I know what symptoms I have, but I'm more concerned about, I'll draw an iceberg on a piece of paper, and then I'll draw the ocean, and I'm not an artist, so anybody can do this. And I'll say, look, the symptoms are the tip of the iceberg. What's under the ocean is so much bigger than what we see visually.
Definitely.
And so that's really where our work comes in, is we don't want to just focus on the tip of the iceberg. That's what everyone else can do for you. We want to really dive in and go down to the depths and see what this obstacle is, what testing, all those things. And then as far as the treatment range goes, did it help you? Did it make more logical sense as to why we'd want to treat you for several months?
Definitely.
Because then you see, well, yeah, if we don't get enough treatments in, how are we ever going to recover all these symptoms? Because now I realize my body's been breaking down in function. And I like it. And then, imagine if we were just going into, okay, well, let me get your treatment plan written up. You've got this in front of you. I bring a treatment plan in. It's going to be much easier for you to close on, right, Erin? Because it's somebody who now they see the whole picture, and you'll have a tool right there with you where you can interpret that and, really help get them on board.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool. All right, any other questions, Kate? Any insights?
Nam, so we got another question. How about if we do this after selling the package? It seems more like detailed planning program. So,
Yep.
yeah, that is an option, and we've done that in orientation. What we've found is it just helps explain the program a little more in detail and helps patients make a better educated decision if you do this up front. But any other insight to that, Reagan?
No, I mean, there's the ROF is enough if you follow all 17 steps to really get a person emotionally and intellectually engaged. But the thing I like about the model of health is it provides an additional layer of value. So Nam, if you get really black belt in your ROFs, or any of you on this webinar, then what you can do is you can start finding those patients who need a little better explanation, and they need to see something in writing, something visual, and then use this. It doesn't take more than about 15 minutes if you've done the ROF already. Then you can jump into it, and I think you'll find that your conversions will go up. But if you don't use it on the first visit, you can use it on the second when they've already closed for a package. It's really good to use this tool when someone comes for a follow-up visit, so they actually have an idea of what you're doing. And you know what, Kate? I was thinking we should create a little explainer video with the model of health on it. That might be kind of cool for people to see.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Cool. All right. Well, good. Well, that's what we got for today. Thanks, everyone, for an awesome event in LA. I mean, it was so fun. Not only swimming in the ocean at Venice Beach, that was great at midnight, but the event itself, man, the best evers. I mean, how many of these guys, how many of our clients are just crushing it, Kate? I mean, I've never seen such a jump in stats. Have you?
No, that was it was exciting to hear how well and how much people have progressed, and just yeah, they were knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, yeah, well done. Keep it up, and get ready for Utah in October. We may sneak in a little ROF transformation, so we need to hear from you guys if you need some additional training on the report of findings. We may sneak in another ROF transformation course before October, so let us know. And then we're going to have an East Coast event, trying to get a September date solidified. So you East Coasters, don't worry, we're coming. All right, anything else you got, Kate?
No, just get registered for the October event. Make sure that's on your calendars and you're ready to rock that.
Cool. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.